Welcome to Business Notes. I'm your host, Diane Bogino. Our guest today is Elizabeth Pampalone. Elizabeth is an international speaker, successful entrepreneur, and expert marketer with over 20 years of experience. Elizabeth's innovative approach helps overwhelmed business owners and burnt out nonprofit directors to achieve success and freedom through the power of absolute marketing. Now, here's Elizabeth sharing her unique marketing ideas for your business. Elizabeth, welcome to Business Notes, and thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Elizabeth, I've been looking forward to interviewing you because of your depth of knowledge about marketing, but tell our audience, what is absolute marketing?
It is a system that I developed a few years ago for myself and then ended up using on clients. It's a system where we create an entire year's worth of marketing content in just 5 days.
Good grief. And why is brand so important?
Well, I use it as the first day of the system because everything else is built on that. If people are trying to do social media, they're not getting good traction, they're trying to have a website, nobody's coming to it, and they're trying all these things and they're not getting anywhere, it's probably because their brand isn't right. And I find that happens a lot with small business owners.
And are websites a thing of the past? So many people are just being on Facebook these days.
Well, I actually have the days ordered in a very specific way. So I start with the branding day, then we do a website day, then we create 12 months of social media in a day, 12 months of blog posts in a day, and then we end with email marketing and we do campaigns and funnels. So the first day being branding is to set that message, to set who you are, what you do, and who you're sharing it with. Then when you go to the website, you actually put all that information there because the thing is, you probably have a ton of information you want to share with people, but you're not going to get all that out in posts. And so I actually think that social media should drive traffic to your website. And the only reason you should really use social media is to drive traffic to your website. And if you think about it, the last time you actually made a sale or you purchased something, it was not necessarily on Facebook or on Instagram. Yeah, I know they have stores. You can argue with me that all day, but really the sales happen on a website. Even if you click on an ad, a Google ad, a Facebook ad, doesn't matter, then it takes you to a website. So I still believe they're super important. And I believe that the 5 pillars that I've set up in the absolute marketing system are the basis of every business. So it doesn't matter what you do, who you are, that is the basis of every business.
And do you want to tell us what those 5 pillars are?
Yes, it's the simple 5-day system. It's branding, website, social media, blogging, and email marketing.
Okay.
And then if you're really fancy, you can throw in a few extras and you can say memberships and podcasting.
Yeah, right. And the thing about websites is that what if Facebook closes or something like that, then all of your material is gone, right?
Well, and they actually own your material when you post it. So if they want to use it for whatever reason, they put those ads out, they have television ads, they have, all kinds of things that they do. They can actually use your content without asking you, without your permission. So it could be good content, it could be bad content, it could be a post you put out about your sister and how awful she is. I don't know, but they can use it because it's there. They own the data at that point once you actually enter it into their system.
Um, Getting back to your website, I went on there and I just love how it's laid out. It's well organized. It's neat. It's easy to navigate. Did you do your own website?
I did. I actually have been building websites for about 21 years now. So yeah, I've been doing that for the longest time. And the marketing is a kind of a subhead of that. It kind of came with the website field. But I really originally went to school to be a programmer, and that's what I have a degree in.
Wow. Well, that brings me to my next question is your depth of knowledge in building websites, the marketing, because you actually owned a computer repair company one time.
First company that I ever built, I actually had been through a divorce at the age of 20, and I had to move back in with my parents, and I was not happy about that. And I kind of lost everything and had to start all over. And my mom said to me one day, she's like, you've been trying to find a job, and I couldn't find anything that I felt was good for me, that was, my sphere that I wanted to be in. And especially in the programming field at that time, the economy was very bad and there was nothing. And she said, you just need to make a job. Why don't you just pick 2 things you like and make a job? And I said, well, I was 20 at the time. I like old people and computers. So, and she said, well, you're going to have to figure out where those 2 things coexist and start making a job there. And I started calling the senior centers in Florida where we lived. And I just started calling them and saying, do you have a computer lab? Do you have a computer teacher? And a couple of them were a little skeptical of a 20-year-old calling them, but I got one to give me a chance for $13 an hour, something like that. And once I started working there a couple hours a week, and then another one heard about how great I was doing, and then another one, and I started going all over the city teaching computer classes. And then I started realizing that my clients were having issues with their computers at home because we were in a lab. These computers were set up by me. Essentially, I was in there taking care of all of them, making sure everything was good. And they're like, well, my computer doesn't do this, and I have a new one, or I have an old one, or my printer, or whatnot. And so I just started going to people's homes and helping them with their computers. And it became a business that I just thought, oh, I'll just help this one person. And then, oh, I'll help that one person. And yeah, they did pay me, an hourly rate to do it, but I didn't think it was a business. And about 3 years into it, it was that long. I started teaching a class in the evenings at the high school, which was community education. And then I realized, wow, there's business owners in here. Wait a minute, I think I have a business.
Elizabeth, that's a great story. And since my podcast is geared for entrepreneurs, you've just laid out a great story about the progression of how to start a business and how one thing leads to another. And the fact that most entrepreneurs are unemployable
It's
because
true.
we know what we want to do, right?
It's so true.
I love that story. That's great. Thank you for telling that. Um, so I am very curious about this. How can social media for a whole year be done in just one day? I'm exhausted just thinking about it.
There's a lot of little things that I put into the formula. And I teach this all the time in classes. I do half day sessions, and then I do one-on-one sessions with clients, and they're full 8-hour sessions. The thing is, you have to set aside the time. And if you can say this whole day, no interruptions, no phone calls, no meetings, no, oh, I need to answer this. If you can set aside the whole day, then you really can get this done. And then you have to look at it as a formula. What is repeatable? So formulas are repeatable things. And so maybe we break it down into a week and we say, what are Mondays going to look like for the next year? We all have evergreen content that's all up in our heads, or it's just knowledge that we have about our industry, or it's just things we can look up really easily and find. There's a statistic, there's and it's things that you would tell your clients in order for them to work with you. It's the things that you would actually say to get them to go, oh, I do need that. And so I try to get people to take their FAQs. Let's make those posts, and let's repeat those posts. And let's say you have 10 FAQs. You can repeat those same FAQs 5 times a year. You can have an FAQ day, Thursday, I don't know, Friday, whatever. And you can just repeat those same FAQs, because the people that see them in January are not the people that see them in July and August and December. So it doesn't matter when you repost things. I actually know this from just, studies that I've done with my clients, but basically every 6 weeks, our brain resets on social media. We do not remember what we've seen. And what we want people to do is, when they do see a post from us, we need to make sure it's branded. We need to make sure it's got our colors, our fonts, our picture, something that says this came from this person, not just that we slapped up a meme that came from wherever. Those don't work as well. But if you have branded content, an image, a graphic, or you have a certain way of speaking, and you start with, the Ryan Reynolds memes. Was it Ryan Reynolds or Ryan Gosling, where he says, "Hey girl," that all those memes with the "Hey girl" at the beginning, that it's going to be a Ryan Gosling meme because it's a "Hey girl" meme. So he starts with that every time, in those memes. And so if we have something like that, a catchphrase, something we do that we say, "Hey gorgeous," or whatever we're saying, if we start with that every time, then someone is going to know, and it's going to trigger in their brain, this is branded content, whether it's text or graphic or video or whatnot. So that's the first thing, is we need to brand our content. Then when we repeat it, like I said, there's new people coming in all the time. And we don't want people to look at our content and go, I saw this thing posted the other day on Facebook and it was so funny. We want them to say, Elizabeth posted this thing the other day and it was hilarious. So we want them to associate it with us when they go to retell it or when they go to share it in a verbal way. And so that's why branded content is so important. And that's why when you repeat things, that person may actually see the same post 5 times. But what they're doing is it's going, so I ask a lot of questions on my posts and I repeat the same 6 question series every 6 weeks. No one knows. No one knew that until I just said it. And so basically with that series, I'm asking a question that says, what can you outsource today? That's one of my questions. And somebody might see that and go, you know what? I really need to start thinking about that. And then 6 weeks will go by and they'll see it again, maybe. And they'll go, you know what? I'm actually going to research that. And then 6 weeks will go by and they'll actually comment this time and they'll say, I'm looking for a VA, because they've done the research. They're ready. They think, I know what I'm going to pay. I know what I need done. And then they say, I'm looking for a VA. Does anybody have one? Another 6 weeks go by. They see it again. And this is by chance if they do see it, because the algorithms are insane. They probably won't. But if they did, then they would say, oh, you know what? I comment again. I just hired my first VA. So it could be this progression for someone to see something again and again and again until they've made the decisions, because we don't do things unless we see it at least 7 times. We don't remember it, doesn't stick. And so having this repetitive piece, it's not that it's the only post you'll ever post, in your system. Because I see people that in their feed, you'll go to scroll through it and it's the same post every 3 posts, right? We have enough varied information in there that you're not going to see that. But if you scroll down far enough, not every post is repeated. Only some of them are repeated and at a certain interval. So I do like to do a lot of repetitive stuff. And then if you think about it, okay, maybe I have a fluff day. Maybe it's fluff Friday, because Fridays are kind of a wash anyway. So maybe it's fluff Friday. I just want to share something funny, share something interesting, share a quote, inspirational. And so I might be able to say, you know what, I can find 52 quotes. I mean, come on, we all know that we have in our analogs of whatever we have, our computers, our Pinterest boards, we can find 52 quotes. We actually probably could go through, if you're a speaker or a coach, you could go through your videos and find 52 quotes that you said, which I think are even better, and actually write those into posts. And if you have that kind of a log of things that you've said, those can get reshared. You can share them on Pinterest. They can go wildfire, just like all those fake Abraham Lincoln posts.
I love that idea. That's great. But you bring up another good point about when you post things on LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook, different audiences see those. It could be the same
Yeah.
post, but they're different audiences. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely reuse the post not only on the same platform. So if I'm posting every 6 weeks, I'm posting it on Facebook, but I also will post the same stuff to Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Pinterest.
Right. And Elizabeth, I've heard you talk about doing one, you actually were determined to do this, be on 100 podcasts within a year. Why did you do that? And how did you do that?
Well, at the beginning of the pandemic last year, I was just so upset because there was no networking. And I used to network 3 times a week. And before that, I actually had done an experiment where I networked 3 times a day for a year. So I was definitely a hardcore networker. It's how I built most of my business. And so the relationships that I built through that, you get to talk to a lot of people and you get to have personal conversations at the same time, because you go to a room, you see everyone at a luncheon or something, you kind of mingle around, you talk to a lot of people, and then you have people at your table, person you sit next to, and you can have that one-on-one conversation. So you have this kind of one-to-many and one-to-one situation going on at the same time. Well, when networking was shut down and everything stopped, I was like, well, what am I going to do? This is where I get all my business. And so I tried to think of something that was similar. Where is there a one-to-many and a one-to-one conversation happening at the same time? And I was like, well, that's podcasting, because just like we're doing now, someone is listening to this, lots of someone's are listening to this, but we're having a conversation and building relationship. So that's what I thought was so fascinating about it. I started to just go online, search for, how to apply for a podcast, because I'd been on a few, but they had been where someone had asked me. I hadn't really gone and sought them out. And I went to a couple of the directories, put my name in, and I applied to over 400 podcasts last year.
Good
It was a
grief.
lot. It was a lot, but I did find that once you get a pitch down, it's repeatable. And it was a good pitch. And I actually just got a call yesterday about one, and it was the same pitch I've been using for about a year. And he goes, out of all the hundreds of applications I've gotten in the last 2 weeks, because he put out a call, he said, yours was the one that stood out the most. So having a good pitch is really important, but I only got on about 140 of those 400. So I did do all the interviews. Some of them got corrupted, some of them got lost, unfortunately. Just things happen with computers and, overseas and just time and space. But I do have about 130, 125 that actually did make it to air. And those are starting to trickle out through our social media over time. And you can see those on our website and everything. But it was definitely having a good pitch, having the determination. Some days I would record with people 2 or 3 episodes in a day. And during the pandemic, that was kind of all I had to do, right? It was the main driver that was saying, business is still happening. You need to keep going. And one of the podcasts that I did, just one, I did all those 140, and one of them netted us over $15,000 in revenue. So, and it wasn't that they paid me, obviously. It was a free podcast. But from the things that happened through those relationships, through people hearing that podcast, it really brought that forward. And so even though I did all those other ones, it really took just the one to actually make something really awesome happen.
That it was an adventure. My goodness. Elizabeth, how does blogging help someone's business?
Well, it's definitely a piece you want to keep within your website. A lot of people try and separate it and it doesn't work out so well, because it's actually an SEO driver. So search engine optimization. It helps to bring the search engines to your site when someone searches for something. And with Google's algorithms, it's really difficult to get on Google's good side. So I tell people you need to be clear with your content. You need to make sure that you're giving good content. And again, using those FAQs, the things that people are searching for on a regular basis that they're asking about, Google is a question engine. It's not a search engine anymore. So people ask it questions. How do I this? Where do I that? And there are some resources online that actually I have in my pro toolkit on my website. And they're resources that help you to figure out what people are actually asking online. And then you can actually structure your blog posts with those questions. And then you can answer that question with your expertise. Even if someone else, 100 someone else's, 1,000 someone else's have answered that same question on their blog, you're answering it in a specific way. You're in a specific location. Google does take that into account. And also, they take into account how fresh the information is. Maybe 100 people have actually commented or written about that topic, but it was a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. And if your content is posted more recently, they're going to pull that more quickly.
You have some great packages. I think you have like 6 packages, including the 2 days that you offer. What are they called? Power days?
The power days are the 5 days. So I have the option for someone to do a day with me, which I prefer. I think those are the most effective for all small businesses, where we sit down together and literally it's in person. I have people fly in from all over the place, and I fly to all different places because it's better to sit in person. You have that, human connection, that energy is there, and you also get that focus. It's almost like putting the blinders on the horse, right? Like, okay, we got to sit down and do this. And when you have that person that's there, there's more accountability. I've done it over Zoom. It's okay. But being in person really helps. So we do have an in-person day. All the days that I do are called power days. We have a branding power day, a website power day. And basically we just get everything done for that project. So if we say it's a website power day, we're building an entire website in one day. Just let's get it done. Let's move it forward. And if we say it's a social media day, we're creating 12 months of social media posts written, designed, and scheduled. Not a plan, not a calendar. It's actually done. So when you actually walk out the door, you have this like in your pocket. Like it's in a scheduler, it's online, and it's going to just run for you, and you don't have to do anything. So the in-person days are the best. They're done with you is what I call them. And then we have a done for you package where people are saying, I really don't care what goes out. I just need something to go out. And we do a little brainstorming. My team and I create it for them. They sign up, they look at it, sign off on it, and it's done.
You have a program for everybody's budget. That's what I liked about all of your programs. You've got all different kinds of pricing that would fit in somebody's budget. And Elizabeth, if they do want to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
To go to my website, which is getabsolutemarketing.com. And there I have 2 free things that everybody can access. One is the Pro Toolkit, which is all the tools that I use on a daily basis, and that one that I mentioned to actually find some good SEO tips. Those are in the Pro Toolkit. You can get that for free. That's at the top. And at the bottom of the website is the community where I have all my courses and free courses. We have monthly trainings, monthly networking groups, and I answer questions. So if people ask a question in there, I answer it right away. So it's definitely a great resource.
Oh, I'll say, I tell you, thank you for being on the show. And I feel like I've been to marketing school today, Elizabeth. So I really appreciate you sharing your expertise with the audience.
Well, thank you so much. And definitely you're an inspiration to me. Just definitely you're one of those people that I feel like I'm going to be her when I grow up.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. We'll talk soon. Thank you for watching Business Notes. We've been speaking with Elizabeth Pampalone, international speaker, successful entrepreneur, and expert marketer. I'm your host, Diane Bogino, bringing you business ideas you can bank on.